Breaking tonight, major developments out of the Middle East. The United States and Israel have launched coordinated strikes against Iran, and multiple explosions have been reported in Iran's capital city of Tehran. This marks one of the most serious escalations in regional tensions in years, and the world is now watching closely. Before we go any further, if you want clear, factual global security updates that break down what's happening and what it means for America and the world, make sure you subscribe right now and turn on notifications. This story is moving fast. Here's what we know at this hour. According to early reports, joint military action involving Israel and the United States targeted specific sites inside Iran, with multiple explosions heard in Tehran. Iranian state media confirmed blasts, but has not yet released full details on the extent of the damage. President Donald Trump addressed the nation shortly after the strikes. In his televised remarks, he described the operation as necessary and decisive, stating that the United States would not allow Iran to threaten American forces, allies, or global stability. He emphasized that the strikes were targeted, strategic, and defensive in nature, and he warned that any retaliation against U.S. personnel or interests would be met with what he called overwhelming force. He framed the action as protecting American security and standing firmly with Israel, one of America's closest allies in the region. He also stated that diplomatic channels remain open, but made it clear that the U.S. would act militarily if it believed Iran was moving closer to acquiring advanced weapons capabilities that threaten regional balance. The president's full speech is available, and you'll want to watch it in its entirety to understand the tone, the message, and the warning he delivered. Take a moment after this report to watch that video.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal. Something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again, they can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with His help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Now, let's break down what this could mean. First, the immediate regional impact. Iran and Israel have been engaged in what many analysts call a shadow war for years, involving cyber operations, proxy conflicts, intelligence strikes, and limited military exchanges. But direct strikes involving both Israel and the United States inside Iranian territory significantly raise the stakes. Iran has historically responded to attacks through proxy forces in neighboring countries, including groups operating in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. If retaliation comes, it may not be immediate or conventional. It could target regional U.S. bases, Israeli infrastructure, shipping lanes, or allied interests. That brings us to the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical oil transit choke points. Roughly 20% of global oil supply passes through that narrow waterway. Any disruption there could send oil prices sharply higher, impacting gas prices here at home in America. And for Black communities and working-class families already feeling pressure from inflation and housing costs, a spike in energy prices would hit hard. Global conflict doesn't stay overseas. It reaches grocery stores, gas stations, and small businesses. Financial markets are also reacting. Historically, when geopolitical tensions spike in the Middle East, investors move towards safe haven assets like gold and U.S. Treasury bonds. At the same time, stock markets can become volatile. Beyond economics, there's the broader strategic question. The United States has long pledged to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons capability. Israel has consistently viewed Iran's nuclear ambitions as an existential threat. If intelligence assessments suggested acceleration in that direction, that may have influenced the timing of these strikes. But escalation carries risks. Iran could interpret this as an act of war and respond proportionately or asymmetrically. The concern among global leaders now is whether this remains a limited exchange or expands into a broader regional conflict. Russia and China are also watching closely. Both nations maintain diplomatic and economic ties with Iran. Any widening conflict could shift global alliances and complicate already tense international dynamics. Meanwhile, European leaders are urging restraint. Calls for emergency UN consultations are already underway, with diplomatic efforts focused on preventing further military escalation. Inside the United States, political reactions are divided. Supporters of the president argue that strength deters aggression. They believe firm military action sends a clear signal that the United States will defend its allies and its interests without hesitation. Critics, however, question whether congressional authorization was properly considered and whether the action risks dragging America into another prolonged Middle Eastern conflict. This debate is not new in American history. From Iraq to Afghanistan, U.S. military engagements in the region have had long-term consequences, both in terms of cost and in the lives of American service members. That is why Americans, across political lines, are asking, what is the end goal? Is this a limited deterrent strike or the opening chapter of a broader confrontation? At this moment, there is no confirmation of a ground invasion, and officials emphasize that this was a targeted operation. But in global conflict, responses often determine the next chapter. The key factors to watch now: will Iran retaliate directly against U.S. forces? Will proxy groups escalate attacks in neighboring countries? Will oil markets spike significantly? And will diplomatic backchannels reduce tensions before further strikes occur? For Americans, especially those with family members in the armed forces, this is more than headlines. It is personal. And for global stability, the next 72 hours could be critical. President Trump has positioned this action as a demonstration of American resolve. Whether it results in deterrence or deeper conflict will depend largely on how Iran chooses to respond. As always, we stand in support of American service members, of national security, and of efforts that protect innocent lives. At the same time, we recognize that peace and stability remain the ultimate goals for the region and the world. We'll continue monitoring developments and bring you verified updates as they come in. If you haven't already, subscribe now for continued coverage. Watch the President's full address and stay informed, because moments like this shape history. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next report.